Again, good afternoon, good morning, and good evening, to all of you. Okay, so we'll discuss today, as part of your cost accounting, which is the introduction to the cost terms and concepts, and specifically, about the purpose, in terms of your cost accounting. Okay, so what would be the learning objectives? We will discuss about the difference between cost, expenses, and losses. Okay, number two, we'll discuss also about direct and indirect cost, and define also the three integral components of the product. Next one is we'll discuss also about uh, the three integral part, which is the prime cost and the conversion cost. We will discuss also about the variable, fixed, and mixed cost. And we will discuss also about the common cost and joint cost. And next one is all about capital expenditure and revenue expenditure and about planning and controlling. Okay. And analytical procedure. Okay. So first thing, very important class that in terms of cost accounting is to identify first the meaning of cost. So what is cost? No? So every product, of course, you have your direct materials, your direct labor and overhead, lahat yan ay may cost. And with this, as part of the your costs, it will reflect the monetary measure of the resources given up to attain objective, particularly of acquiring goods and or services. Meaning to say, class, in terms of costs, you have your monetary measure. You have your cash, then bibili tayo ng isang assets, by acquiring, your goods and or services. Okay. So what are the basic terminology, particularly for this cost or cost accounting? Okay. So very important here, class, is to know first the meaning of cost. Ano yung cost? The cost daw is a sacrificed resource to achieve a specific objective. Okay. So lahat yan, class, are associated with all types of organization. That's why very important here, to know, that there would be cash or cash equivalent, sacrifice, for the goods and services that are expected to bring the current or future benefit to the organization. And with this class, very important to know that there would be actual cost, budgeted cost, and cost objective. And we all know the actual cost is what you call the historical cost, the cost that has occurred. Why budgeted cost? Alam natin that it is a predicted cost. No? Meaning to say it is projection, it is forecasted. No? It will be discussed further in the management accounting. Okay? And also, class, very important here is the cost object. No? So, anong cost object? Anything of interest for which the cost is desired. No? So, yan ang ibig sabihin, class, ng mga basic terminology, particularly for costs. So, ano pagkakaiba niya, class, in terms of the expenses? Costs are incurred, no? Again, you have your actual costs, you have historical costs, pero we are more into actual costs. Tapos na. Okay? Because of that cost, it will have a future benefits in profit making the firm, no? Or future benefits that will arise or that will be part of your revenue. Okay? Ano expenses? Cost that say you have your assets, you purchase assets, you have your property, plant, and equipment. Paano siya magiging expenses? But before that, what do you mean of expenses? It is expired cost with producing any revenue benefit. Ibig sabihin, class, yung expense mo ay expired cost. Pero it will produce a revenue. If you have your property, plant, and equipment, ginagamit mo yung property, plant, and equipment in your business, that's why you have your depreciation expense. Okay? So in each period, expenses are deducted from the revenue in the income statement to determine the period's profit. Ano pa kakaiba ng loss? Same pa rin, class, expired cost, pero without producing any revenue benefit. Again, you have your cost, yung lahat ng asset mo ay part of the cost. You have your expenses, expired cost with producing benefit, and the last one is lost, expired cost, but without producing any revenue benefit. Ano yung mga sample niyan? Yung inventory na walang insurance, nasisira. Okay? That would be your lost. Okay. Very important also, class, that in terms of cost accounting is the classifications of it. So you have your manufacturing costs, direct materials, direct labor, overhead. Then we have your non-manufacturing costs or period costs or non-inventoriable costs, your SG&A. Ano yung SG&A? Selling, general, and admin expense or marketing, selling, general, and admin expense. Class, para hindi mag-memorize, manufacturing costs or product costs, yan yung ating paggawa ng isang product, while a non-manufacturing or period cost is a support product. Okay. Also, class, very important here that in terms of cost is to understand the meaning of variable cost, fixed cost, and mixed cost, and to classify it based on direct departmental or indirect departmental. And the last one is all about common and joint costs. So we will discuss one by one later, no? And also we have capital expenditure and revenue expenditure costs as classified as to the relations of the accounting period, and some terms which are your standard costs, opportunity costs, differential costs, relevant costs, out of the pocket costs, sunk costs, and your controllable costs. Okay? Sige, one by one muna tayo. We go first with the manufacturing costs. As discussed a while ago, manufacturing costs is you have your direct materials, direct labor, and overhead. So what is direct materials? No, they are all associated with the product. All manufactured products are made from the basic direct materials. They will become part of the finished product, and it can be conveniently and economically traced to the specific product. Itong table na to, itong chairs na to, the direct materials here is the wood, the metal. They're specifically part of direct materials. Okay? How about direct labor? In essence, purchased from the employees working in the factory. In layman's term, yung karpentero na gumagawa ng table. That would be your direct labor. Okay? A specific work performed on the products that can be conveniently and economically traced to the product. Okay. Sige, mamaya we'll discuss naman the meaning of indirect materials or indirect labor. And that would become part of your factory overhead. Under factory overhead, there are two things, indirect materials and indirect labor. So what is indirect materials? Minor materials, supplies that cannot be conveniently or economically traced to the specific products. Ibig sabihin, yung pako, yung tornilyo sa paggamit ng table ay part of indirect materials. They are economically traced. Sir, paano yun? Kung walang pako, wala naman tayong table and chairs. Yes. There are two kinds or two meaning why it is considered as indirect materials. One, their cost is insignificant. Magkano yung pako? Napakamura. And number two, their association with the product is insignificant. Ibig sabihin, yung pako dito ay kakaunti lang. Okay? And that will become part of the indirect materials. And we have indirect labor. The labor costs for production that cannot be conveniently or economically traced to the specific product. Kanina, yung direct labor ay yung factory, yung karpentero. Pero yung kanyang boss, the supervisor, and the plant manager will become part of indirect labor. Yes, they are part of production, pero hindi siya or cannot be conveniently and economically traced to the specific product. Ano yan? Indirect labor. Indirect materials, indirect labor, they are part of the factory overhead. Okay? And we have also other factory overhead, the depreciation, the rent expense, no? Supplies used in the production, etc., etc., as expense. Again, direct materials, direct labor, overhead. That's why, class, when you say about direct materials plus direct labor, yan ay tinatawag na prime cost. Okay? While direct labor and the factory overhead, they are considered as conversion costs. Direct materials plus direct labor plus overhead, they're all part of total manufacturing costs. Okay. We go now to the non-manufacturing costs. Ano nga class yung non-manufacturing costs as discussed kanina? They're all to become part of the SG&A. Ano yung SG&A? Selling, General, and Administrative Expense. They are support to the business. Pag sinabi class marketing, okay? Marketing and selling, ang ginagawa lang nila ay to market the product, to sell the product, wala nang iba. While administrative or general, sino to? Ikaw to as accountant. Bakit? What we are doing here, no, is to support, no, the business. Particularly, we do assistance and we do staff and assistance. Okay, that would become part of your non-manufacturing cost. So meaning, what are the admin and general expense? No? So yung mga top managers natin, executives natin, no? Organizational and clerical expenses that cannot logically be included under or either production and or marketing. Yeah. Okay? Also class, pag sinasabing cost, there would also be cost classified as variability. We have here what you call variable cost, fixed cost, and mixed cost. So, ano bang ibig sabihin ng variable cost? Please take note of this. Now, we are talking here of total variable cost, not your variable cost per unit. Pag sinasabi class variable cost in total, it will vary proportionately and directly with the changes in the activity level. Okay, again, pag sinasabi natin variable cost, it will changes or it will vary directly uh, and proportionately with the changes in the activity level. While the variable cost per unit naman, it will remain the same regardless of the activity level. So, anong ibig sabihin nito, class, no? So, anong ibig sabihin nito, no? Halimbawa, class, if you have materials, no? If you have materials ba, tataas ba yung, sorry, pag mataas ba yung sales natin, tataas din ba yung materials? The answer is yes, no? Because they vary directly and proportionately with your sales. While the variable cost per unit naman, it will remain the same. Ibig sabihin, class, we assume that the per unit of the variable cost will not change. Okay? Again, total variable cost will vary in total. Pag tumaas yung sales, tataas din yung variable cost. Pag bumaba yung sales, bababa din ang variable cost total. Okay, what else? Pag sinasabi naman class, in terms naman of the variable cost per unit, it will remain the same. Okay. We have also here your fixed cost. Ano naman yung fixed cost? Fixed cost naman, it will remain the same regardless of the activity level. While the fixed cost per unit naman, it will vary inversely. Again, in terms of fixed cost class, no? Tumaas man or bumaba ang ating sales, total fixed cost will remain the same. So, ano yung mga sample niyan, no? Pag tayo ba ay tumaas yung benta, tumaas yung ating sales, anong mangyayari sa ating rent? It will remain the same. Anong mangyayari sa ating depreciation? It will remain the same. How about the salaries of the monthly paid? It will remain the same. So, yan class ang ibig sabihin niya, no? Particularly for your fixed cost. Pero class, in terms naman of the fixed cost per unit, it will vary inversely. Ibig sabihin, tumaas yung sales natin, bababa ang ating fixed cost per unit. Bumaba naman yung ating uh, sales, yung ating ano naman ay magi-increase, no? Yan ang ibig sabihin class, no, ng ating fixed cost per unit. It will vary inversely. Okay, it will be discussed further pag tayo ay nasa cost volume profit analysis na. Okay. So ibig sabihin class, no, to summarize everything, no, ito yung ginawa natin, no. Very important here class, no, that in terms of your cost behavior, no, the variable cost in peso will change in proportion to the output. While the cost per unit, it will be unchanged or remain the same. while the fixed cost per unit in terms of total peso, it will be unchanged, no, in relation to the output, while the fixed cost per unit naman, it will change inversely. Ito class yung ating uh, summary kanina. Okay. We have also here class mixed cost, no? So, ano naman yung mixed cost natin? It is a combination of variable and fixed. Okay? Combination of variable and fixed. It both contain variable and fixed. That's why it is also known as the semi-variable cost. So the mixed costs change in total but not proportionately with the changes in the activity level. Ano yung mga sample natin ng mixed cost? 'Di ba yung kuryente sa Meralco? Tumaas, in terms of the Meralco bill, no? If lumagpas ka sa kilowatt hour, it will become part of the variable cost. Okay? Pero pag within kilowatt hour, yan ay fixed cost. So, ganun lang, no? Particularly for the semi-variable. It will be discussed further in the CVP analysis, no? If you have, please go to my video and look for the CVP analysis. Okay? Summary. Anyway, sige. Next one. Next one, very important, is what you call common cost and mixed cost, joint cost, no? So, ano ba class ang ibig sabihin ng common cost? They are the cost to be allocated or cost of facilities or service in two or more accounting period operation. Common sa lahat, no? Halimbawa, yung rental para sa lahat, San Mig Light, San Mig Apple, San Mig Lemon, yan ay common cost para sa lahat. Okay? So, yan ang ibig sabihin ng uh, ano, uh, common cost. How about joint costs? Cost of materials, labor, and overhead incurred in the manufacture of two or more products at the same time. Pag joint cost natin, pag tayo ay may product, especially about yung beef, no? Yung ating kalabaw, di ba? Pag yan ay kinatay, magiging na siyang separable cost, di ba? Pero pag yan ay you have what you call joint cost, 'di ba? Yung cost ng pag-aalaga niyan, no? Yan. So that would be your joint cost, okay? So just go to my video, no, about joint cost of the product. Cost of materials, labor, and overhead incurred in the manufacture of two or more products at the same time. And these costs are all to be subject to allocation. Yan. We have also here what you call capital expenditure versus revenue expenditure. Ano naman to? CapEx naman to class, no? 'Di ba? We have discussed already about capital budgeting, no? So, yan class ang ibig sabihin niya, no? So, capital budgeting. Okay. So, in terms of this, it is basically the asset. So, we record it based on assets. Expenditures intended to benefit more than accounting or more than one accounting period, and it is to be recorded as an assets. That's why the allocations of a class, no, of the cost is different, no. For fixed and the tangible assets, we have also here your amortization, okay, and at the same time, that will benefit the amortization for intangible, no. We have also here what you call revenue expenditure. Ano naman to class? Ito naman ay is to be expense outright. Okay? So, yan naman ay to be expense outright. Unlike in the capital expenditure, yan ay to be capitalizable. Okay? So, yan class, no? Ibig sabihin yan, no? Okay. So, about capital expenditure and your revenue expenditure. Okay. We have also here direct costs and indirect costs. Ano naman to class? You have direct departmental and indirect departmental. So, pag sinasabi class, direct departmental, costs that are immediately charged to the particular manufacturing departments that incurred to the cost, since the cost can be conveniently identified with the department. Okay? So, direct. Kaya nga direct, no? And we have also here indirect departmental charges, costs that are originally charged to the some other manufacturing department of account but are later allocated. So subject for allocation and transferred to another department that are indirectly benefited from the said costs. Yan. So that would be direct and indirect departmental. Okay? So for sample class, no, you will assign this BMW, assigning cost to the cost object. Okay. And so type of cost, no, particularly for this, direct cost, no, cost of steel and tires for BMW. And indirect cost naman, yung indirect, ano natin, indirect materials, indirect labor. So, direct cost, that would be your direct materials, indirect labor. Kaya nga direct eh. Okay. So, and cost assignment here, no? So, very important here is all about your cost assignment. Okay, so in terms of your cost assignment naman, no? Your cost tracing in terms of the materials requisition and cost allocation if there's no document. Kaya nga class, di ba? Anong ginagawa natin? Okay? So, in terms of your cost assignment, all right, so particularly for this, no? Uh, if there's no requisition, that would be cost allocation. Okay? This, no? So, in terms of your cost object, we have now what you call, no, BMW, no? So we have now BMW. So yan lang naman, no, particularly for how you will be able to assign, no, particularly for sample. Okay, so again, cost example here, direct costs and indirect, or direct materials or direct labor and overhead, di ba, as discussed. Okay, so meaning to say, parts and assembly line wages, indirect costs, no? So, yung ating overhead, no? Electricity, you have rent, property taxes. Yan, okay? So, factors that will affect also direct and indirect classifications. Of course, yung ating materiality, diba? So, very important to know, no? Particularly for this, no? Yung ating materiality rule, okay? Or availability also of information gathering, no, or technology, or your operational design. Okay. Very important also class yung other. Uh, so ano yung mga others, no, particularly for this you have standard cost. So ano yung standard cost? The predetermined cost, no? Para siyang budgeted cost pero based on the per unit. Predetermined cost for materials, labor, and overhead. It is the budget for the production of one unit or product or service, no? Or it is the chosen by the managerial accountants, no, to serve as a benchmark in the budgetary system. Okay, and we have also here opportunity cost, benefits forgone, benefits given up when one alternative is chosen by another, and it is not usually recorded in the accounting system. Yan, hindi yan nire-record ka sa in the accounting system. And however, this cost is to be considered in a relevant costing. We have also here differential cost, cost that present under one alternative but is absent in or in part of the another alternative. You have incremental cost, decremental cost, marginal revenue, and marginal cost. What do you mean of incremental cost? Increase in cost from one alternative to another. You have also here decremental, okay? Decrease in cost from another. All right? And we have also here yung ating marginal cost. Cost involved in producing one more unit. Again, marginal revenue, revenue that can be obtained from selling one more unit. While cost involved in producing one more unit. Okay. So, ito class, no? Ibig sabihin, lahat ng sector, they can use cost accounting. Manufacturing man yan, merchandising man yan, or service. Again, in terms of the manufacturing, ano nga yung manufacturing natin? Yung ating, yung pag-convert ng direct materials, yung ating direct labor, and we have our manufacturing overhead. Yan. So, yan ang ibig sabihin class ng manufacturing. Merchandising, is a simple buy and sell, no? And a service, ang sabi nga nila, laway lang ang puhunan, di ba? So, yan ang ibig sabihin yan, okay? Particularly for manufacturing, uh, uh, merchandising, and we have service sector. Okay. So, they're also to discuss no about the ano types of the manufacturing inventories. So, ano to class, no? You have your direct materials, work in process, and we have our finished goods. Ano ang direct materials? Resources in stock and available for use. Work in process or work in progress. Ano nga to class? Yan yung mga hindi pa tapos, no? Products started but not yet completed, often abbreviated as WIP, while your finished goods, products completed and ready for sale. Okay? So, yan. So, that would be your manufacturing of inventories. Okay. So, ano naman yung cost flow? No? So, very important class, ito yung cost flow natin. So, ano ba yung goal natin? Your direct materials, your direct labor, and overhead. This would be your direct materials purchase. No? If you notice that, there would be a system. Okay? Beginning inventory plus your purchase minus your ending, that would be your DM use. Step number 1, direct materials use is 76. Then it will be added to our direct labor and we have factory overhead. Okay? Then it will become part of your finished product. Pag hindi pa tapos, part siya ng WIP ending. Pag natapos na yan, it will become part of your finished goods. Finished goods naman is available for sale and ready to finished inventory na. Then, if you have your finished goods plus cost of goods manufactured, you have your total goods available for sale, and then you minus your ending finished goods that will become part of now of your cost of goods sold. So ganun lang, no? Ito naman yung summary of it, no? Your revenue and expenses. Sorry, your cost of goods sold muna, okay? So with that last so with this as part of this, no, so we all know revenue, no, minus cost of goods sold of 106, you have your gross profit of 102. So so very important is how you will be able to analyze. Okay. So ito class yung ano na ginawa atin kanina, no? Pero ito ay more on detailed, okay? Yan. So revenue, cost of goods sold, beginning finished goods, plus your cost of goods available minus your ending, and that would be your cost of goods sold. Okay? And eventually class, no? Sa baba naman, you have your gross profit margin. And then after that one class, you have your operating cost pa, no? Ayan. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, total operating income is 70,000. And we have operating income of 32. So, mga class, ganun kadali, no? Okay. Ito naman class yung ating direct materials, direct labor, and overhead. They're all to be part of, no, of your finished goods. Okay? Ayan. So, direct materials, beginning inventory, plus purchases, less your ending, that would be your DMUs. Then we have our direct labor. Ayan. Okay? So, then, it will be transferred to be transferred sa ating WIP. Alright? And then, pag natapos na yan, magiging part of the finished goods and eventually will become part of your cost of goods sold. Same yan kanina. Same yan dyan, no? So, yan. Okay? So, different definitions, no, of cost for different applications. So, you have pricing and product mix decisions or decisions about pricing and with also maximizing our profit. Okay. Then we have also a contracting with the government agencies naman. Very specific naman to, no? Particularly for or definitions of the allowable cost for cost plus profit. And the last one is to prepare external use financial statements or GAAP or driven cost policy. Okay? So, ito yung sample natin. No? So, research and development, you have design cost. So, ibig sabihin, from the R&D to the common service, ang tawag ng class ay product cost for pricing and product line. Okay? So, when you have your research and development, design cost, production cost, that would be the product cost no, for reimbursement or other government contracts. So, ganun lang, no? Okay? So, there are also three features of the cost accounting and cost management. So, ano yun, class? Okay? So, very important here is to calculate first, alright, our products and services and other objects, no? Then, obtaining information for planning and control. So, our role here is to have proper planning and control and analyzing the relevant information. Okay? Alright. I think that would be our last slide, no? So again, thank you very much for this cost accounting, cost terms and purpose. Bye-bye.